I received an email from Ryan and he wanted to know how does he validate his max heart rate number when he completes a max heart rate assessment. If you follow me for any period of time, you know I'm a big fan of the Garmin platform and all of its attributes and the data that it collects. I'm a big fan of the Garmin because it helps us literally take apart, in this case, an assessment to validate that the work that you're putting in is producing numbers that you can actually utilize in training over the next 6 to 8 weeks. When we're looking at this screen right now, you'll notice that you can see the heart rate on the left is going up. And then you can notice, if you look at the numbers very closely, you'll notice that the heart rate is slowly ticking up to the top right hand. Notice that the rise over run, the slope of increase, is relatively minimal. Now, this is actually an assessment from one of our professional athletes, and obviously in great shape, very young athlete, somebody who sleeps quite a bit, gets plenty of rest every night, has great eating habits, and does a great job on staying properly hydrated. You notice that I preface that because that is the foundation of getting the most out of an assessment. A lot of times I'll see people, they're disappointed in their testing and or racing results, and they think it's a fitness issue, and it's actually more on the preparation side, being fed, rested, and hydrated. If we come back to this graphic illustration, I want you to notice that this max heart rate assessment had a couple blocks, and I want you to notice that the rise over run is slight between blocks, and it's also not significantly higher than the previous block. Now you say, Rob, why would that be important? Because our goal is, when you're doing a max heart rate assessment, you want it to where, if you can imagine you're running a running race and you want to just barely get across the finish line and have all that energy spread out. Testing is all about putting strategies to the test, literally. So if you make the mistake and you say to yourself, all right, I'm going to do an assessment, and you go out if you go out too hard and you go out too extreme, what ends up happening is you end up smoking the muscles before you put the heart under enough stress to actually get a max heart rate assessment. Max heart rate assessments are always a finite balance between strength and what is your true aerobic capacity. At the point that it goes from aerobic to anaerobic and we're trying to get that top end number, that's where these tests have to become a little bit more accurate, both on the preparation, strategy, and the interpretation of data. Let me explain. When we're looking at validating a max heart rate number, we always want to bounce the max heart rate number against the average. Ideally, you want to see those two be between 10, at the most maybe 12 beats apart. So what that's doing is it's validating both the top number and the average. So if your max heart rate, and I'm using just some very loose numbers, if your max heart rate is 190 and the average is 162, either you forgot to stop the watch and it pulled your average down, or that max heart rate number is not accurate because the spread is too big. This is where I want you guys to be a student of assessments. As soon as you get ready to start the assessment, you begin the watch, you're going to plot the heart rate, and then as soon as you're finished, stop the watch. At the very least, let it run for 1 minute afterwards. Now there's a reason why on that, and I can explain it to you here in just a moment. But what you're trying to do is just get the work block captured. Now, in this case, the reason why I say you might want to let it go for a minute is, depending on your sophistication level and your experience as an athlete, you want to be able to evaluate how quickly does the heart rate drop from its max number to 1 minute. We go actually 15-second increments, 15, 30, 45, 60, and we'll even go to 1 minute, we'll go to 90 seconds and into 2 minutes. That's for another video. When we're looking at validating the max heart rate number, always bounce it off the average, assuming that you start it and stop it as soon as you begin and end the workload itself, and then compare the two numbers together. Another thing to keep in mind is please weigh yourself before and after, so that way you get your sweat rate at that intensity for that duration. There's so much information that you can extrapolate just by being aware of what numbers need to be gathered, and then know how to appropriately execute the test, capture the data, and then how to interpret it. I hope this illustration on this max heart rate made sense to you. If it didn't or doesn't, You can always reach out to me via email. You can do that at contact@coachrobb.com. Happy to answer your questions. And if you have something that you want me to dig down on and maybe do a video on, you can use that email address as well. I want to thank you for your time today. We're putting out a new video every day, so please like and subscribe, and we look forward to seeing you again tomorrow.